Hi everyone, Kat here, your favorite ginger bibliophile. I hope you're all doing really well, and I hope you're in the mood for a grim tale as we continue reading through my Grimm Brothers anthology, because, yeah, I've had this book for like 7 years now. That's as far as I've got. And most of that has been this year reading y'all stories every Monday. And unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna have puppies today, because, yeah, that blob is little man. He said, "Tuck me in, Mama," pretty much right before I pulled up the computer. So, yeah, he's taking a break from guard duty. Franny is, I'm not sure where Big Girl flops. She likes to flop in the hardwood on the kitchen or on the bedroom floor while her son takes a nap on the bed or under it sometimes. Because it's exhausting being fussy all day. It's like, I'm cute, I'm fluffy, feed me, or I'm going to bed. So, oh, I got the right bookmark for this. I got a Lord of the Rings bookmark because I really need to get caught up on Rings of Power. It's been a while since I've watched it, and I'm only like an episode and a half into a rewatch of it. But that works for today's story because we're reading about elves. I didn't know there was a story about elves in here, but I'm excited now. Oh, and it's a little baby story with three tales in it. And ooh, we get a picture in the story after that. So you'll have to come back and see what it is. But for today, we're gonna have like a little fantasy one. Hopefully, it'll go with the shirt because I had some fun with this one. Sarcasm may appear periodically, and I didn't even pick this one out. It was the boyfriend found it at Walmart forever ago, and it's fun. He always makes fun of my shirts because he wears like all plain stuff. I even buy it for him now. And then there's me who, I have to have sayings and pictures and stuff. Gotta have fun with your outfit, right? There was once a shoemaker who, through no fault of his own, had become so poor that he had only enough leather left for a single pair of shoes. That evening he cut out the shoes, which he planned to work on the next morning, and since he had a clear conscience, he lay down quietly in his bed, commended himself to God, and fell asleep in the morning. After he had said his prayers and was about to sit down to his work, he saw the two shoes. One day I'm going to learn English. Maybe. It's been 30 something years and I still like mastered it, so don't hold your breath. Or maybe. Depends on how your day's going. No, just kidding. Don't hold your breath. You'll have to hold it for way too long. He saw the two shoes standing all finished on his workbench. He was so astounded by this that he did not know what to say. He took the shoes in his hand to examine them more closely and saw that the shoes were perfect. Not a single bad stitch could be found, and it was as if the shoes were intended to be masterpieces. Shortly after, a customer entered the shop, and he liked the shoes so much that he paid more than the usual price for them. The money enabled the shoemaker to purchase leather for two pairs of shoes. In the evening he cut them out and planned to begin work on them with renewed vigor the next morning. However, it was not necessary, for the shoes were already finished by the time he awoke. I think I know where the elves are coming in. Once again he found customers for them, and they gave him enough money to purchase leather for four pairs of shoes. The following morning he found four pairs of shoes already made, and so it went. Whatever he cut out in the evening was finished by morning, and soon he had a decent income again and eventually became a well-to-do man. Now, one evening, not long before Christmas, it happened that the man had been cutting leather, and just before he went to bed, he said to his wife, "What would you think about staying up tonight? If we do that, we might be able to see who's been lending us such a helping hand." His wife agreed and lit a candle. Then they hid themselves behind some clothes that were hanging in the corner of the room and watched closely. When it was midnight, two cute little naked elves scampered into the room, sat down at the shoemaker's workbench, took all the work that had been cut out, and began to stitch, sew, and hammer so skillfully and nimbly that with their little fingers that the amazed shoemaker could not take his eyes off them. Indeed, they did not stop until everything was done and the shoes were left standing on the workbench. Then they quickly ran away. They're so good at this, but they're running around naked? Come on, they're supposed to have nice, like, flowing robes and stuff. We've all seen the movies, we know. The next morning, the wife said, The little men have made us rich. We ought to show them that we're grateful for their help. Do you know what? Since they run around without any clothes on and must be freezing, I'm going to sew some shirts, coats, jackets, and trousers for them. I'll also knit a pair of stockings for each, and you can make them both a pair of shoes. See, they needed some clothes. That's fine with me, said the husband. In the evening, after they had finished everything, they put the gifts on the workbench instead of cut out leather and hid themselves in order to see how the elves would react. At midnight, the elves came scampering into the room and wanted to get right down to work, but they found nice little clothes instead of the cut out leather. At first, they were puzzled, but then they were tremendously pleased. They put the clothes on quickly, smoothed them down, and said, Now we look so fine and dandy, no more need to work and be so handy. Then they skipped, danced, and jumped over chairs and benches. Finally, they danced right out the door and were never seen again. But the shoemaker continued to be prosperous until the end of his life and succeeded in all his endeavors. Lost some workers, but that's all good. He just had to get back to his own thing. Oh, and looks like they're going to help somebody else, maybe. We got tale number 2. Once upon a time, there was a poor servant girl who was industrious and neat. She swept the house every day and dumped the dirt on a large pile outside the door. One morning, when she was about to start work again, she found a letter on the pile. And since she could not read, she put the broom in the corner and took the letter to her employers. It was an invitation from the Elves, who asked the girl to be godmother for one of their children at a christening. The maiden did not know what to do, but her employer finally persuaded her that it would not be wise to refuse the invitation, and she accepted. Well, yeah, you don't refuse the Elves. Come on now. 3 elves came and led her to a hollow mountain where the little folk lived. Everything there was tiny and indescribably dainty. Dainty and splendid. It's past nap time. The mother was lying on a black ebony bed with pearl knobs. The covers were embroidered with gold. The cradle was ivory. The bathtub was made of gold. After the maiden performed her duties as godmother, she wanted to go back home, but the elves implored her earnestly to spend 3 days with them. She remained and had a pleasant and joyful time. The little folk did all they could to please her. Finally, when she insisted it was time for her to leave, they filled her pockets with gold and led her back out the mountain. Are we sure they're elves and not dwarfs? When she arrived home, she wanted to resume her work, so she took the broom that was standing in the corner and began sweeping. At that moment, some strange people came out of the house and asked her who she was and what she was doing there. Indeed, she had not been gone for 3 days, as she had thought, but she had spent 7 years in the mountains with the little folk. In the meantime, her former employers had died. Well, yeah, I don't know what to make of that one. They were giving her some really good drinks. You lose that many days. And tale number 3 is a super little one. Let's see. The elves had stolen a mother's child from the cradle and had replaced the baby with a changeling. With a changeling who had a fat head and glaring eyes and would do nothing but eat and drink. Well, yes, that's one way to look at him. In her distress, the mother went to her neighbor and asked for advice. The neighbor told her to carry the changeling into the kitchen, put him down on the hearth, and start a fire, and boil water in 2 eggshells. How much water are you going to fit in a couple of eggshells? That would make the changeling laugh, and when he laughed, he would lose his power. The woman did everything the neighbor said, and when she put the eggshells filled with water on the fire, the blockhead said, Now I'm as old as the Wester Wald, and in all my life I've never seen eggshells cooked as these have been. And the changeling began to laugh. As soon as he laughed, a bunch of elves appeared. They had brought the right child with them and put him down on the hearth and took the changeling away. Yeah, they could have stopped the story too. That was something. I don't know what's funny about eggshells on a fire, though I do like fire. That might just be the pyro of me, but I love a good pretty fire. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that and the tongue twisters, and I will see you next week with another tale. And we'll eventually get through them because we're on next week will be 40 out of 250. So hopefully you all enjoyed that, and I will see you soon. Bye. Happy reading.